About a year ago I started a video project documenting growing these leeks. This is Bulgarian Giant. I've been growing this leek for years and I've saved many generations of seeds trying to improve the qualities, well, kind of improve the traits or encourage the traits that are the reason I like this leek in the first place. And those are height, girth, and there's certain things I'm selecting for each time I save seed. So here we are somewhere around a year from planting the seeds, and these are pretty big. I got them in the ground late. They could definitely be bigger, especially if I thinned them more. I could have fed them more. I could have got them in earlier. There's all kinds of things, but they're not looking too bad. And that's okay anyway, because I'm doing comparisons, right? So I'm doing like a genetic comparison. So it doesn't necessarily matter if they're all as big as they can possibly get. I'm still just comparing one to the other for its size compared to the next one and the shape and height and all of that stuff. So today it's time to cull these out. I probably should have culled out more earlier, but I'm just gonna go through and do a pretty ruthless culling right now. I'll probably take out about half of them. I'm not really sure, but we'll find out pretty quick here. And I guess I'll give them to my neighbors or something. Don't know. What's too bad is that the farmer's market here is so regulated that I can't just have extra stuff and go have a place to sell it. What we need is a farmer's black market or just a flea market type of situation where I could just go show up on a weekend with a bunch of extra produce and sell it and not have to jump through all these hoops and like paperwork and all this crap. Okay, let's take a look at these. Now I know we've looked at this over and over again in these videos, but this bed is, just to reiterate one more time, this bed is divided into 3 sections, and one of them has 10% charcoal mixed in, one has 5% charcoal mixed in, and one has 0% charcoal mixed in. But I just wanted to point out again this because the 0% char is this section with these little runt leeks, and not only are they smaller, but they're really looking sallow. They have like this yellowish cast to the leaf, you can see. Most of them have that, and they're just really not that healthy. And as soon as you get over into this 5% section, they start to improve a little bit in terms of the color. And then down here towards the 10% section, I mean, they're basically like trees in comparison. So let's take a look at some of these leeks and why I'm culling certain ones. So here's an example right here. This one has just fallen over, and this happens a lot with the really tall ones. You can see just how stretched out this leek is and tall, and that's kind of unfortunate because I like the height actually, because it makes them easy to clean. So one of the main things about these tall leek varieties is that they're easy to clean. So a leek like this, I can pull out of the ground, strip it here, and if it were standing, there would be no dirt in it, you know? Like a lot of leek varieties, these short types are full of dirt, and you have to peel them back and wash all the dirt out. This one, I would just strip off this leaf and that leaf, and then all of this from here to the base, which is, I don't know, looks like 20 inches or more. Sometimes it's 2 feet and more long, will be just perfectly clean and ready for the kitchen with just literally seconds of preparation. So that's awesome. But when they get really stretched out and skinny like this, they'll fall over. And I think what it is actually is it's from frost. So when they freeze pretty hard, this variety is not super hardy. It's kind of moderately hardy, but I've been, of course, selecting for that. So anything that's ever damaged by frost, I pull out. Mostly, I haven't seen a lot of them fall over this year, but maybe it just hasn't been cold enough. I mean, we've had quite a few hard freezes, you know, with like ice on the buckets and all of that stuff, and it will damage some of these leeks. So that's one thing I call for is leeks that are obviously damaged by frost or that just kind of flop over like this. Here's another one here that is also similar genetically. You can see it has a lot of space between each leaf, like there's leaves down here and then the next leaf is way up here. And that's also true of this one where the leaves are pretty far apart. And I select against that trait. So this one will come out because of that, and because it's skinny, and because it's leaning. In some cases, these effects that I'm looking at might be more environmental than genetic, but I know if a leek is just what I want, that I know the genetics are capable of achieving that. So that's what I'm selecting for, you know, and obviously there's going to be some casualties just because I don't know if the effects are environmental or not. Now this is a nice looking leek right here. It's tall, it's pretty fat, and a lot of the leaves aren't too far apart, and they kind of are still clasping tightly up in this area here. So that one's definitely getting saved. This one here next to it is just small by comparison. You know, look at the stem size difference between, it's probably close to double. So this one will come out just because of size. Over here, obviously the smallest ones just come out like that one. And here's a great example of a short leek. So this one is quite a bit shorter than the rest of them, and it's just got this kind of short, stubby flag type of leek look to it. So that one definitely is going to go too. So I can't show you the perfect leek because I don't think it really exists, but you know, I've had some that were pretty close, and a few of these look pretty nice. So this one's nice. The base is very large. Like, I can just barely touch my middle finger and thumb together reaching around it. It's fairly tall, could be taller, and the leaves are kind of clasping up near the top, so that's good because it helps blanch the leek. You see how the leaves come up pretty high and then they clasp right here. In the absolute best ones, they'll be really fat like that, and the leaves will come way up, and at one point near the top they'll just totally clasp here, and then that blanches the stem, so the stem's all white. Now this one right here looks pretty good, but it's not that big around, and it has this stretched out thing where the spaces between the leaves are longer. Can you see how there's like, you know, 2 to 4 inches between each leaf and the next. This one here is similar. Just peel off a couple of leaves here. You see how the leaves blanch the stalk? So when I peel them away, it's like white stalk. Now typically as they get taller, they get skinnier. So I'm trying to select for ones that happen to be both. Like for instance, this one right behind it, that base right there is pretty big. But you go up, well, not that high, and it starts to branch out. But you can also see how the leaves sort of come out right at the same point, clasped together at the top, which I like. So there's almost a contradiction between two types of leek. One is these really tall leeks that tend to be skinnier, and then they have stretched out internodes like this between the leaves. But I have had ones that combine all the right characteristics, which is height, girth, and clasping way up here at the top to blanch the entire stalk. And they're straight, you know, they don't fall over or bend or anything like that. So those are the characteristics I'm looking for. I'm leaving quite a few leeks here because I'm just going to be eating some out of the bed. This big one here will definitely get culled at some point. We'll revisit this project when it's time to select the very last leeks, you know, the winners, the genetic winners. And those will get moved into one spot where they'll be allowed to go to seed. And the plan is to collect that seed and then put it in my web store on SkillCult.com. And these are the leeks I called out. They're variously short, you know, bad form, not big enough, bent, fallen over, all that kind of thing.